The woman turned around in horror and discovered that her boyfriend suddenly came home at this moment. It seemed like a very ordinary action, but the woman suddenly panicked and ran back to the room. At this moment, the sound of the toilet flushing caught the man's attention. Immediately after, a naked man came out of the bathroom. The moment the two made eye contact, it was somewhat awkward. Coincidentally, at this time they both looked at the gun on the table, but the man just smiled slightly at that moment. Then he slowly walked toward him, but the two did not make any extreme moves. They only exchanged a glance, and the man calmly went to the room to look for his girlfriend.
I did what you told me to.
It turned out all of this was the man's plan. He deliberately let his girlfriend get close to this detective from the Major Crimes Unit, and revealed the news that they were preparing to rob a Los Angeles bank. After that, the robbers began preparing their weapons and equipment. When they arrived at the bank entrance ready to act, the police had already arrived at the scene, and they were monitoring their every move. The robbers first rushed into the bank, then they destroyed all the surveillance cameras. After that, they forced everyone to take out their communication devices and put them all into the trash bin. But strangely, the leader of the robbers pulled up the bank manager at this moment, then immediately made him call the police. At the same time, the police monitoring outside also received the message and suspected this must be a trap. So they immediately ordered the surrounding officers not to approach. But just after he gave the instructions, the police who received the call all rushed over from nearby. The robbers, seeing this situation, instead became much calmer. Then he had the bank manager call the police again, demanding that they send a fully fueled car within 30 minutes. If the time exceeded 30 minutes, they would kill a hostage every 5 minutes. However, just as the words fell, the robbers dragged a hostage into the bathroom. Meanwhile, the police who heard the gunshot immediately began to study a rescue plan. But just as they started discussing the plan, an explosion suddenly occurred at the bank. At first, the police suspected that the robbers had blown open the vault, but after they analyzed the bank's structural diagram, Nick, who was in charge of the case, suddenly sensed something was wrong. Immediately after, he took a crowbar from the toolbox, then pulled out his gun and quickly walked to the bank's main door. After arriving at the door, he first observed the inside of the bank. He discovered that the robbers inside had already disappeared. Nick forcefully pried open the door. After confirming the hostages inside were safe, he then went to the bank's bathroom. He found that the hostage from earlier had not been killed. At the same time, the team members who entered from the back door found a large blasted hole on the other side. However, just as the police followed the tunnel to search,